Hello, welcome to Desert Blockchain Camp, 27th Avenue and Georgia in Phoenix, Arizona. Today is Saturday, December the 4th, 2021. It's 11:02 a.m. Arizona time. Sorry, we're starting just a little bit late today. My name is Jay Carpenter. I am founder of Desert Blockchain and Desert Blockchain Camps. And if you're not familiar, bear with me just one moment, please. If you're not familiar with Desert Blockchain Camps, we have these sessions every Saturday from 11 a.m. Arizona time till 2 p.m. Arizona time. And the first hour is a workshop. Today it's going to be on, can you use?
Sorry about that.
Today it's going to be on Node-RED. We're going to be building a controller for the Crypto Cannoneer target range here in the at the camp, and that will allow people that are in the camp to control the air cannon and the water cannon and basically hit targets here at the range. That's going to be done by Shane Sandler, Blockchaingerous of Crypto Cannoneer. And that'll be the first hour. And then the second hour, we're going to have a networking lunch here with pizza provided. And we'll just have a blank placeholder screen. And then from 1 to 2, you're welcome to join us again, either on the YouTube live stream or via the Zoom link. If you're a Desert Blockchain citizen, we'll be having a conversation about various topics in decentralization, cryptocurrency, NFTs, whatever you're interested in. We'll also be, if we don't have people that are participating virtually, then we'll shut off the stream and we have a workshop here. We'll be working probably on IPFS and Raspberry Pis and so forth. So we are totally community supported, and we appreciate you becoming a Desert Blockchain citizen via Patreon for $10 a month. And that's how we pay for the pizza and defray some of the expenses of the camp here and so forth. So we are planning to roll out some very interesting items for citizens, and it's worth your while to become a citizen and get in the citizen program as early as possible. So I'm going to turn it over to Shane Sandler, and he'll take it from here. And thank you for your time and attention, and take it away, Shane.
All right. Thank you, Jay. I am Shane. I go by Blockchaingerous on the internet, and I am very excited today. We are going to be getting into a more practical tutorial today, and you can follow along, and this should actually teach you something. The last few weeks, we've been having some high-level and conceptual discussions, which are enjoyable, but I really enjoy doing these practical tutorials as well. So it's fun to mix it up. And yeah, let's dive into it here. So if you're not familiar with Crypto Cannoneer, this is what my stream is right here. So you can see here that I'm using Telegram Messenger here in the bottom right window to send commands to these turrets here that you can control. And this Telegram Messenger group is publicly available. It's open to anyone. And it runs 24/7. The link is down here in the bottom left, t.me/cannoneers. So if you hop into that, you can control these turrets anytime. This live stream is always running on Twitch. And then when we're doing these Zoom sessions, it's also being pushed through Zoom, which is great because the Zoom actually has a better latency. So let me show you. So we've got a tennis ball gun here. We'll go ahead and shoot one of these out. And there it goes. Oh, I missed. And then it'll reload right behind me here. And we've also got a water gun in here. And so let me go ahead and get that to spray. And that's in the bottom left, right below me here. So using the Telegram Messenger chat, you can use /help between the two bots there. And if you do the water cannon bot, it will adjust the UI here. And this is going to be now controlling both the water and the main gun. And if you do /help for just the regular bot, then now we're back to controlling the main gun. So we're going to go ahead and show you how to build not this. So this is built through Node-RED as well. And we're going to show you how to do a simpler version of this, which is a Telegram control for building a local UI, one that isn't accessible over the greater public internet. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. And we can go ahead and get started. I'll show you what we're going to build and we will walk through it. Okay, so this is my Chrome window here. So this is basically going to be a tutorial on how to use Node-RED dashboard. So if you're already familiar with Node-RED dashboard, you probably aren't going to get a lot out of this. But if you're not, we're going to give you a quick tutorial here on how to build a simple local UI. And so this will be accessible over any LAN, any device that's on your local area network. So that's phones, that's tablets, that's everything. Anything that has a browser can pull up this UI, which is really convenient if you want to control things from multiple devices. But it's not as useful if you're trying to create something that's available over the greater internet or over like a public network or something that you need to access when you're not on the same network. It's got some security situations that makes it really difficult to expose it to the greater internet safely. But as far as running it on your LAN goes, it's really, really awesome and convenient. So like I said, this is a UI that controls the water cannon. So you can see there that we are controlling it. And you can see in the stream, the messages that it's being produced. I think it's producing the messages. Oh, it looks like this one doesn't have the messages built into it, at least not into this chat. It might be in direct messages with the water bot or something like that. So you can see that, yeah, this is sending messages through the Raspberry Pi and the Node-RED interface to all the hardware and making this work. And this UI, we actually did a live stream tutorial on how to build, I believe, back in January. So if you want to see specifically how we built this UI, please go ahead and check out that older live stream. But we're basically going to be doing the same thing again today, just with the regular Cannon bot. So the back end on this one that we're looking at right here is this tab here. So this is the Node-RED flows and everything that we've got going on the Raspberry Pi that's controlling the water cannon bot. So if you're not familiar with Node-RED, I definitely suggest you check out some tutorials on it. It's a super useful programming tool that is like a very low code. It's this visual interface. It's drag and drop. I love it. I'm not a coder, but I'm able to do programming because of this tool. And I love it. So this is what the back end on that water cannon bot actually looks like. So as you can see here, so these commands all on the left side here, and I need to tidy this up so that it's a little bit neater, but so we've got these blue nodes here are Telegram nodes. And if you click over here, you can see the info on them, and you can see all the various the comments and the documentation. That's what I'm looking for, the documentation that the developer of this Telegram package has provided. So super useful. And then these ones right here are injects, and then the actual here's the so here's the one for the actual UI for the dashboard. So this is how you build the dashboard Node-RED. So we are going to go ahead and dive into it with Crypto Cannoneer, the tennis ball bot. So this is the Crypto Cannoneer's backend flow. It's a little bit more complex than the water cannon bot. As you can see here, we've got the over here, this is some of the Stellar reward cryptocurrency integrations. And there's a few other things going on between having like the arming functionalities and some of the safety features so that I can make sure I don't get shot. So this flow is a little bit more complicated than the other one, but we're only going to be really playing around with the left side of it where we've got the commands. So we're basically going to be replicating all of these Telegram commands here as Node-RED dashboard nodes. So we're going to go ahead and pull up the UI for this flow here. So to do that, you take, just like opening up regular Node-RED, you do the IP address of your device that's running your Node-RED server, which in this case, it's a Raspberry Pi. We love Raspberry Pis here. And you, after appending the :1880, just like you do for Node-RED, you do /UI. And that's how you get to there. And that's good because we don't have any UI built here. But that's, as you can see here, that's how we are accessing the water cannons UI right here. So I'm trying to see. Okay, so anyways, going back to this cannon bot here. So first things first, we are going to add a dashboard node. So we're going to come over here to dashboard. Where is it? And then let me see, dash. So sometimes when you try to type in the overall, like the group that you want, it's not searchable. So you have to actually know which node you want or the name of one. Let's see, why am I not seeing these dashboard nodes? Hang on, let me pull up this other one and see if I can find it real quick. Dashboard, so button. So I might not have the dashboard installed over here yet. I don't, so let's go ahead and do a quick tutorial on that. So you come over here to your hamburger menu and you do manage palette and you go to install and then you type in the node package you want. And so this is super, super useful for installing packages that other people have built. That's one of the great things about Node-RED is that you can install these packages that give you all these nice functionalities and make things easy so that you don't have to go and rebuild the wheel and make all this stuff. So we're going to go ahead and get that installed real quick. Hopefully it doesn't take too long to get that dashboard installed. While we're waiting on that, I'm going to go ahead and pop over to this other Raspberry Pi that does have it installed and show you a little bit more on that. So we're going back to the water cannon here. So I'm trying to find, so one thing that is useful to know is usually when your Node-RED first opens, it looks like this, and you don't have the dashboard, which is this icon right here. And that's a super useful tab here in order to manage your dashboards and how these various things are working. Okay, so here is that what I was actually looking for. So this is the actual flow that's controlling the water cannon UI. That's this right here. So this is still installing. So this is the water cannon UI. So you've just got these basically these buttons. So this is the actual dashboard button here that represents this button right here. So you can build out this dashboard, you build out your functionality, and then you can come into this tab here and you can adjust how things are organized and, kind of clean it up, do a little bit of front end work. And you can also do that front end stuff through this interface when you double click, and you can go through the groups and you can go through the tabs of your UI. So that gives you all the functionality associated with creating, much bigger, grander types of UIs. A great example would be the Stellar Red interface that we've done numerous tutorials on, that has numerous tabs that allow you to create various cryptocurrencies on the Stellar network and have a full wallet interface and generate NFTs. And those are all separate tabs. And so all of that is built out using the Node-RED dashboard package. So it's super robust. It's very powerful, and you really can do a lot with it. All right, looks like this was successfully added. So we can hop into this. Go ahead and get rid of that. And now we should see the dashboard nodes over here. And there they are. Like I was saying, you can't search the package, which is an unfortunate thing in my opinion. Hopefully they'll fix that one day. But if you know what node you want, you can search that. So we need some buttons. So we're going to go ahead and drop in a button here. Oh, I didn't mean to wire it in. Sometimes the wiring automatically snaps like that, and it can be useful if you can get it to land in the actual wiring where you want it, but it can also just be annoying. So we're going to go ahead and open up this button. And so first thing, this is asking us about UI groups. And so this is basically like the front end type of layout for this dashboard that we're building. And so we're going to go ahead and add a new UI group and edit that. And we need to add a new UI tab because we don't have any dashboard built out yet. We're just going to leave it as home. We can leave it as dashboard. I can just be all the defaults. And we're going to leave the width. Actually, let's bring the width up to 10 because we're going to have a few different buttons, kind of similar to the layout of this one. So, and we'll go ahead and add that. And then, so that is now defaulted to a default group as well. And we can change the label of the button to fire and the name of the button to fire so that we can see it in the back end here. And we'll hit done. And let's go ahead and deploy that real quick so you can see the changes. All right, so now we've successfully deployed that UI and we should be able to refresh this and get it. And it'll just have that button that does nothing. There we go. So now we've got our home tab, we've got our default group, and we've got our fire button that has nothing connected to it. So you can push it all day long and it'll do nothing. So let's go ahead and add some more buttons and actually build out this functionality. So now that we've got this button in the correct UI group and in the correct tab, I like to copy and paste it because if you just drag another button in, then you have to go ahead and do this, and you have to go ahead and it does default to the right thing, but if you have multiple tabs or groups, it might not default to where you want it. So I prefer to copy and paste. So we'll copy and paste that. So we need a fire button, we need an arm button, we need left and right, and we need up and down. So we'll go ahead and stick those there, and we'll go ahead and start wiring these in. So we don't have to rebuild much of this functionality. I'm just going to wire these right into the control circuits that already exist. So we're basically just going to be replacing the Telegram command with this UI button. And so then it's going to do everything else that it normally would do. And it might create a little error because the Telegram functionality relies on knowing what user sent the message, and that's how it processes the rewards pay flow. And so that part of the Stellar cryptocurrency integration is probably going to fail because I don't think I have the like the edge scenarios built in to handle no user, basically a null user. So we'll see what happens when we do that. And then so this button we're going to change to arm. I'll be able to arm it. And since this is going to be a local UI and we might actually be using this to run around and control things, I'm going to add a disarm key because for safety, when we're actually standing in front of the gun, having a disarm is pretty useful. So we'll go ahead and wire in the disarm here and relabel these. Okay, and why don't we go ahead and deploy that just to check our work. We should have a bunch of fire buttons now and the disarm and arm buttons. And see, there we go. It's filling out these buttons. And we're going to be able to resize these and reorganize them so that we can get everything where we want it. So let's go ahead and keep plugging in our info here and getting things wired up. This will be, I'm going to move these around just for my own keeping things straight. Okay, and so these have a split on them. Oh, because this function actually has a parser in it so that you can put in like a left 3 or a right 7. And so that is probably going to fail because this is just sending. So when clicked send, you can tell it what to send. So let's see how this handles I forget how I programmed this to handle the default, so it's basically built as a 2-second default. And so we should be able to program this button to send what we need it to in order to continue to do that. Payload equals amount. So Yes, I programmed this when I was still learning Node-RED, so there's some really clunky programming in here. I really should sit down and totally rebuild this now that I'm so much more knowledgeable on Node-RED and how I could build this more efficiently. But for now, it works. Counter, not sure. I don't remember how I built this. So we'll see what happens when we fire these off without any, it should actually default, because the default on the parser, it can handle no number put after the left and right commands. So it should actually work. We will see. We're gonna relabel these so we know what's what. Left and right. Okay, and up and down. Get these wired in. Down. And up and up. Okay, so that should have all of our labeling and functionality working pretty much. And then if this works as intended, we can just make the UI pretty. So let's pull up the, okay, let's see. I'm going to resize my window here so I can actually see the stream and if things are working as intended. So let's go with left. And left doesn't seem to be working, right? So that's probably what I was talking about with an error with the parser and the default, but the other functionality should work. Up and down, and it's putting out messages to the Telegram group. That's great. And we can go ahead and arm it. And we should be able to fire as well. It doesn't want to fire. Why didn't it fire? Not sure why it's not firing. So we've got up and down, we've got arm. We've got arm, but we don't have disarm. We do have disarm. We've got arm. Not sure why fire isn't working. That has some additional functionality in the firing flow as well, because we've got all sorts of things going on when you fire, between checking to make sure the arm is activated, checking to make sure the admin disarm is activated, managing some of the stuff for the cryptocurrency side of things. So we'll go ahead and dive into those edge cases at the end here, and we'll see how much time we have for that, for me to try to sort through this mess of code that I have. Well, not code, but programming, I suppose. But before we dive into that, let's go ahead and reorganize these buttons. Since we have all the buttons we need, let's make it a little bit prettier. So let's go ahead and keep fire at the top. I'm going to put arm and disarm next to each other. So let's start with that. So you can do that. I'll show you two different ways to do the, messing with the front end of this UI that we're building out here. So you can do it by going, oh, that's the Telegram command, not the button, by going into the actual button here, and you can resize it. So we made the whole thing 10 wide. So let's make one button 5 wide. And we'll make the disarm button 5 wide. And then they should be able to sit right next to each other. Let's make the fire button twice as tall. We'll make it 10 by 2. And let's go ahead and deploy that and see how it looks. So yeah, we got fire, arm, and disarm, and we're going to reorganize them. So what I was about to say was that, yes, the other way to modify this front end of your flows here, or your dashboard UI, is to use the tab over here for the dashboard. But like I said, the default layout on Node-RED doesn't show it. So a lot of people don't even know it exists. You have to drag this sidebar out, and then it appears. And then you get that dashboard here. And I prefer to edit this the UI this way. I think it's much more convenient and a lot easier. So like we can change the home name right here to, crypt or tennis ball Canon. And then we'll just call it that. And we can change the default to live controls. And we'll update it. And so then now we can reorganize this stuff. So I like having fire at the top, and I think arm and disarm at the bottom is my preference, and probably disarm on the left. And then we're going to go ahead, and up should definitely be at the top, and down should be at the bottom, and then left and right. And we can go ahead and edit the sizing on these. So up, I think we can keep up and down as auto, and we're going to go ahead and make left and right half the size as well, 5 by 1. And so then those can sit next to each other. All right, done. And we'll go ahead and deploy that. And now we should have a pretty good looking UI. We got a big fire button, we got an up, down, left, right, and an arm and disarm. And as I'm looking at it, I'm thinking arm and disarm should be up above the up, down, left, right controls, just from my personal preference, maybe from what makes sense to me. I'll go ahead and move those and redeploy it. And there we go. So now we've got our fire button, we've got our arm, disarm, up, down, left, right. Okay, awesome. So now that's pretty much it on the Node-RED building a UI dashboard. So you've got one, you know, and so I can, here, let me pull it up on my phone real quick. So I can show you that it comes up on any device that's on the local network. Oh, let me get connected to the Wi-Fi here real quick. And then, so the, let's see, the IP address for this Pi is 192.168.12.161. And anyone who's here in person can do this out right now as well if they're on the Wi-Fi, although I don't think any of them are. So we go :1880/UI, and we'll go ahead and go. And there you go. You can see right there. Let me pull up the stream here so I can see what I need to stop my screen share so you can see what I'm showing you. Let me do that real quick. Stop share and switch this over to my webcam mode. And so you can see right here on my phone, oh, it's bluing out. My green screen control is getting rid of the blue apparently. But you can see on my phone there that we've got that UI that we just built, and you know, I can use it all. So I can do left, or we can't do left and right because of that parser. I'm gonna have to go ahead and sort through that. Yeah, so that is working. So that's how you build it. It's super quick. You know, you saw we just did that in like 15 minutes. And it's really awesome. It's really powerful, and you can really do so much with it really rapidly, even if you don't know how to code. And you know, we're going to have this public UI available on some tablets in here. Well, it's not a public. I guess it's public if you're here in person. So we're going to have this UI available on some tablets here, so people can come and play the games in person without having to download apps and do all that runaround in order to play. So that's going to be really fun. And I'm very excited. And so that's pretty much the end of the dashboard Node-RED tutorial. So we can either transition over to some open discussion here. If people have questions, I would love to chat with the people here if anyone's been following along or has questions, or I can dive into some of these you know, edge case scenarios where I've got the additional complexity going on.
Shane, did you cover the JavaScript coding capability of Node-RED?
I did not. So Jay is here talking about the JavaScript coding capability of Node-RED. So Node-RED, not only is it extremely simple and fast for building out, you know, a simple UI like that, but it's also extremely robust and powerful. So you can really do so much. So as you can see here, my Cannoneer flow is a little bit complicated. I definitely need to reorganize it and, you know, create a subroutine and make it a little bit more human readable, because I mean, haven't looked at this in a while, and I'm already starting to forget how things function and work. So if somebody else came in and tried to modify this, or because this is all open source, you feel free to download this and play around with it, but it's a bit of a nightmare at the moment. I need to clean it up. But so Node-RED here is built on top of JavaScript, and so you can do any sort of JavaScript coding. So this is a function node here, and so this is basically just a little bit of JavaScript code. And so whenever a message comes in through that wire, this is what it triggers. But you can do so much more with that. So these on start, on stop, and setup tabs give you a lot of functionality as well. So basically, right when you deploy, this node will run whatever you have written here in on start. And so you can have super complex functionality that you only need to run once, or you need to set up something. And some of the node red, or the red horizon, and the stellar red relies on some of this stuff, like the on start types of functionality, in order to set up a stellar transaction and things like that. And you can pass all sorts of information around between these nodes, and you can have persistent variables that can interact with multiple nodes. So the complexity is really limitless. You can build really complex software using Node-RED. The only place where you start to run into limitations is speed. It's not a super fast type thing. So if you're trying to build something that scales and can handle thousands of users, Node-RED probably isn't going to handle that very well. The other place is just that the dashboard isn't easily exposable to the open internet. So that's the reason why this is all controlled through Telegram messengers, because that's a secure way to kind of expose these endpoints to the greater internet. And because that Telegram package that I was able to download was so robust, that it was the easiest way to get that built.
You also might want to cover the integration capability with databases. Like
Yeah,
SQL,
absolutely. Let me go ahead and share my screen again, and we're going to talk about some databases and some integrations there. So as you can see here, this is the Cannoneer flow. This is what controls the bot. This is, the turret can go up and down and left and right. And then we get into the more complex stuff over here with the cryptocurrency integration. But then right here, this DB tab, this is an additional flow that I built for managing the database. So this is actually some more of the back end on how the Stellar integration works and how it actually awards my custom turret token to people. And that's all on testnet right now. But the database and everything works. So there's a lot of ways to integrate Node-RED with databases. So you can just like you can download the dashboard package or the Telegram package or whatever other node package you're interested in, you can download database management packages. So this one is a MySQL database. So it's just, or it might even be SQLite. Let me go back over here to this tab. So this is SQL, SQLite. So this is just a local little unencrypted SQLite database that's just hosted right there on the Raspberry Pi. It doesn't have an integration to like a cloud service or anything like that, but all of those packages exist as well. You can run, cloud-based MongoDB integrations. You can run Influx Db integrations. Pretty much any popular database tool probably has a dashboard node written for it already. Let's pop open the palette here and the install and take a look. So like just type in database. And you can see some of the various plugins available. There's SQLite, there's all sorts of things that I have no idea what they are. MySQL, I know there's a Mongo integration, and there's definitely an Influx. So you can really download any package that you need, and it makes it really easy to integrate, your database and run some sort of persistent data that can interact with the rest of your Node-RED functionality.
You might want to mention that Influx is designed for time series data that's conducive to Internet of Things.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Yeah, Influx Db is a software that we've been exploring here, and we did a little sort of unboxing type of tutorial a few weeks ago on it. We weren't able to get anything quite functional that day, but we were getting close, and it's really cool. Influx Db has a lot of time-sensitive data and is time-stamped, so that's really useful for IoT applications and home security systems, and build a lot of the types of projects you'd want to build with a Raspberry Pi. Influx Db seems like it would play really nicely and really make it so that your data has those timestamps, and it makes it so the flows are a lot easier and more organized, and you can really look through your data and parse it in the way that you want. So that's definitely a tool that we're going to be exploring further in the future and might be integrating into some of our own devices and projects here in the warehouse.
Yeah, I think that's covers it pretty well. So if you want to wrap it up.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know if anyone in person here has any questions or if they've been following along. If there's anything else we want to go over, or if we wanted to fill up a little more time, I'm happy to start diving into some of the complexities of those functionalities that I didn't have working right now, but I'm not sure what people.
Want to do that, go ahead.
Sure. Let me spend a couple minutes here diving in. Let's see if I can get the left, right working. Actually, fire is going to be a lot more satisfying. So let's see if we can get the fire working. So I know that the firing inject here works. So let's test that real quick. Let me see what my Zoom situation is. Am I still sharing my screen? I am not. Let's go ahead and share my screen again. And share. And so this firing inject right here, I believe works. Yes, it does. So that, I'm just looking at my reloader here. There it goes. So that ball was a little stuck, so it didn't actually shoot. But so this firing inject works. And so that, I'm just going to go ahead and copy that instead of putting the fire button into here. I believe this is handling some of the, it's definitely handling some of the Telegram stuff so that you can like reward the correct user. And it's also definitely checking to make sure that the disarms aren't enabled. So we're going to go ahead and bypass those. And then I'm not sure if this will mean that it won't correctly it might still be able to fire even when disarmed, which is not a functionality that I want to have persist in the future. But just for now, we can do a little test there and see if it works. All right, so let's go ahead and pull our dashboard back up. And yeah, there it goes. It fully bypasses the disarm. So not going to want to leave that running in when we actually take this UI, to the rest of the public in here. Definitely want to make sure we can disarm the cannon in case people are walking around in front of it. So I'm not going to leave that exactly like that, but you can see how knowing how your flow works and where your checks are coming in is super helpful. The way I programmed the arming functionality on this is very clunky. It was before I knew about persistent variables, which is a really useful feature of Node Red. So you can come over here, right here on this tab, you can see it's your context data. And if you go to your flow, this is all the data that is available to multiple nodes. It's actually the data for the flow overall. And so this is a super useful way to keep persistent variables and like things like an arming trigger that need to interact with multiple nodes, as opposed to when you open up a functional node like this, any of the variables that are in here are only going to be available in this node. So it's only going to be available right here. And as soon as the message is passed to the next one, any of that data is no longer available. So that's why having a flow-based node is super useful, or a flow-based variable, because then, the next node in the line can check the status of whatever that variable is. So I need to probably reprogram this whole flow to utilize these context variables, whether like the arm or disarm is on. It'll make it so much easier for me to do these checks and make sure that the arm is actually armed when someone goes to try to fire it. So when I first built this, I didn't know about these context variables and how to pass or have a variable that would be accessible for multiple nodes. And so I built it in a sort of a workaround clunky way that I don't even remember at the moment. So I'm gonna have to dive into that a little bit more to get that fire functionality working correctly. As far as the left-right parser here, so let's see here. So when we send a message, a left-right message through a Telegram, it can handle it not having any number after it. So it's designed to be a parser so that you can send like a number like that. But if you don't append a number, it still works. It just defaults to 2. And so let me see if I can dive into this and figure out what is going on. So it's splitting. So it's taking the message from Telegram and splitting it based on the space. So if there's no space, then the payload, that just means that there was no number after the payload or after the command. And so I'm going to go ahead and change this to send a payload of, let's go ahead with left 2 and see if that works. That might allow it to default that way. So we'll go ahead and deploy it and see if that allows it to work. I think it might have. I thought I heard it moving. Let me reduce the size of this again so I can see. It doesn't look like it's moving, so that didn't work. Oh, no, it did work. Cool. So yeah, that's just going to be sending the default value of 2. So let me go ahead and add that functionality to the right as well. And so we'll go ahead and change this payload to right 2. Done. Deploy. And now we should have total functionality on this. Let me adjust my screen share so you guys can see. Stop share, share my whole screen. All right, so now you can see here is my dashboard UI that we just built, and we can go left. Maybe it was working a moment ago. We can go right or not. We can go up and down. We can go left and right. Why did that stop working? It was working just a moment ago. Interesting. Or did someone else do that? Someone else playing around in here? I just saw it working. That's very interesting. So we can go up. It's not doing right and left anymore. Interesting. So we can arm. And not that we had to arm, since the fire bypasses that safety check. We can fire. And let's see if we can figure out why the right left stopped working. So I thought that it worked. So a good way, so my favorite way to figure things like this out is to throw a debug node in there. So debug is a really useful way to just kind of figure out and diagnose what you have going on here. So we'll go ahead and throw these into here, and I'll throw another debug node right here and get it from there. And just as a reference so that I can diagnose a little bit, I'm gonna throw one in from the Telegram command here so I can see what that's actually outputting and I can try to replicate it. Okay, so if I go send a Telegram command, we can see in the debug what it's sending. So it's sending a pretty complex payload. It's sending a whole object. And so then that's what it's parsing into, both the actual command and message, as well as having that sort of metadata of who sent the message, so that I could reward the proper person with cryptocurrency. And obviously my dashboard command is not doing the same thing. The dashboard command sends just a payload. Oh, I can hear it moving this time. So it's very odd that it wants to work sometimes. But yeah, you can see here the payload of that dashboard command is just left. Oh, interesting. 2 left versus left 2. So after it goes through the splitter, it's getting turned backwards. So that's interesting. Not really sure why it's doing that. But I'm having difficulty diagnosing this, because sometimes it seems to work and sometimes it doesn't. Let's see, let's try left again. Yeah, I just heard it moving, and now it wants to work, right, left. So there must be some check in here that's preventing it from working. It seems like if I try to do left or right multiple times in a row, it doesn't want to work. Yeah, this is very odd. I'm gonna have to do a little bit more diagnostic on this to figure out, how to get this functioning the way we want it to, so that we can just have a nice little public, little iPad or a tablet going on, so that people can play with this right when they come in without having to download an app and get it all set up on their own phone. But we've got a, a basic working prototype of this here dashboard. And, we showed you how to build it, and hopefully you found it useful. And please let us know what you're interested in learning on future topics. And if you like these types of tutorial walkthroughs and programming and coding tutorials, or if you like more of the conceptual stuff, or if you're interested in trading and liquidity pools like we've been doing. So please let us know what type of content you're interested in and what topics you want for the future. So I think that is about the end of what I have to show for you today. We appreciate you tuning in and hope you have a wonderful holiday season.
Before we wrap it up, there was a couple questions in the chat on the Zoom. It said, can you import custom graphics for your buttons on the dashboard?
Interesting. I think that you can. I haven't played around with it very much. Let me share my screen again real quick. I'm pretty sure that you can. I think so. If you open up your button here, and you can put in an optional icon right here. So as far as how you actually put that in, I haven't dove into this, but I know that the dashboard package has really good documentation. So you should be able to figure it out pretty easily. Icon here. So icon, label an icon, set a message property, name of property. So yeah, you can set the text and the background colors. You can set an icon here. And then if you go into the actual UI a little bit more, you can actually build out CSS widgets. And so you can get really deep into the actual look of your UI. And if you come into here, you can set an icon for your dashboard right here as well. So the best place to find all of that info is going to be right here in the help tab. And, just click on your button and it'll help guide you through all this. The other really great way to do it is if you go back to manage palette and you find your dashboard node here, right here. Oh, I guess you can't do it from here. You got to go back to the install. But if you, helps if you spell things right. Dashboard. So if you go to the Node-RED dashboard, and this button right here will take you to the website for that actual Node-RED package. And they have really good documentation for Node-RED dashboard. And this is all just built by the maintainer of the dashboard package. But they have great documentation on how to build it out, how to build, change the layout, all the features for how you can, mess with all of your themes and your colors and your widgets and all that stuff. So if you want to dive into some of the more nitty gritty of colors and icons and, really making your UI look pretty, you absolutely can. Here we go. Here's the icons that are built in. And it looks like you can do all sorts of things with the look of it. So yeah, absolutely. You can mess with that stuff. It's just not something that I've dove very far into yet, but we will definitely do that in a further session when we, beautify this UI.
Yeah, and you're touching upon another key part of Node-RED, which is the whole 2,000 or 3,000 prepackaged libraries of items. Maybe you already covered that, Shane, but there's a lot of great packages that you can basically just throw in that are already pre-built by other developers and so forth. So, all right.
Awesome.
Good. Anything else, Shane?
I think that's it for me. We are having a great time in here. It is the perfect time of year to be in Phoenix. So please let us know if you want to come hang out and check out the warehouse and our space here.
Yep. Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that workshop and demonstration. And we, like Shane said, we focus on small board computers, Raspberry Pis, the various versions of the Raspberry Pis, and Node-RED is a great way to control all these devices. And this is Node-RED, in my view, is one of the best ways to get into programming and creating projects that you can, use something right away. You can create entertainment systems with Node-RED. You can control your lighting, control sensors, all sorts of things with this package. And we plan to continue to use Node-RED here locally along with Raspberry Pis and integrate with other things like IPFS and so forth. So stay tuned for that. So we're going to end the workshop a little bit early and go to basically a placeholder screen for about the next hour and 8 minutes. And then at 1 p.m. Arizona time, we'll open it back up. And if anybody has any questions or topics you'd like to go over, we can cover that at that time. And then we'll be wrapping everything up by 2. And then next week, on the 11th, we'll have another session, and we haven't announced the topic yet, but stay tuned on Meetup for that. We usually post the Meetup topic for these open houses by about Wednesday or Thursday at the latest. So that's where we're at today. Thanks for your time and attention. And we will go to a placeholder and then resume, open up the live stream as well as the Zoom at 1 p.m. Arizona time. So thank you. Okay, it is a little bit after 1. Sorry, I'm a little late opening this up. I'll stop the screen share. And we have one person that's on the live stream. And if you have any questions, please type your questions over on the right side. We don't, it's everybody's internal here for the Zoom, which is fine. But this is a part of the day where we open it up for any kind of questions or topics. And we'll be happy to discuss that with anybody that's interested. And so we'll give it a few minutes. If there's no questions, then we'll wrap it up for the virtual side, and we'll continue our conversations that are going on here in the Desert Blockchain Camp at 27th Avenue in Georgia. We have some pretty good conversations going on right now. So it's open for questions, and we're talking about various things. We've been talking about the advantages of Bitcoin versus Ethereum versus gas fees versus staking and proof of work. And those are some of the topics we've been talking about. Also, beginner approaches to decentralization versus more advanced and intermediate approaches to decentralization. So those are some of the topics we've been going over at lunchtime here, and we're happy to continue those if you're interested, and go from there. So, one thing that I'm really interested in right now, and I'll likely be doing a session on this in the near future, which is incentivization for what I'll call whistleblowing. And how can a set of monetary incentives be set up to encourage or reward whistleblowing, bounties, that sort of thing. And I'm working on a presentation to highlight that in the near future. But and this kind of goes hand in hand with the November session, which was on cybersecurity and decentralization. So if let's see, where are we at? Excuse me.
Program at ASU and there's a blockchain club. I should reach out.
Okay, sorry about that. So you can you can review our cybersecurity and decentralization session, which occurred on the 22nd, I think it was, of November. Maybe, no, I'm sorry, it was on the 17th, because we were a week before Thanksgiving. And anyway, November 17th, we had a session on cybersecurity and decentralization. And I think there's some interesting topics we can cover to complement and enhance that conversation. And we'll be looking to do that in the near future. So anyway, I don't see any questions in the chat, and we don't have anybody on the Zoom. So we're going to wrap it up for today. We will have another session on the 11th, and then we'll probably take a couple weeks break because of the holidays. but that's kind of the tentative plans right now. So my name is Jay Carpenter. If you're interested, you can contact me, Jay Carpenter at desertblockchain.com. And if you have any topics you'd like to cover, let me know. And we will resume next week on the 11th of December. So stay tuned and join us at 11 a.m. To 2 p.m. next Saturday, December the 11th. So thank you for your time and attention, and enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.